Joining us this evening are two guests, Betsy Budziak and June Nicholson, both involved with the Canadian Liver Foundation, one as a fundraiser, one as a donor, but both to share some things we Canadians may not know. Welcome, Betsy and June.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here today.
So let's start with your story, Betsy, the story surrounding your daughter, Delphina. Tell us what happened.
So basically at a 2-month routine checkup with her pediatrician, he noticed that she was a bit yellow. She had yellowing in her eyes. He ordered immediate blood and urine testing. I got a call the very next day saying her liver is very sick. You need to go to Sick Kids and pack a bag. Were his words. We did that. We went to Sick Kids. I was under the impression, they put her under UV light and that would be it.
How old was she?
At the time, she was 2 months.
2 months?
Just shy of 2 months.
Wow.
So quickly, what happened then?
At Sick Kids, they diagnosed her with the disease biliary atresia. There's no known cause yet. Part of the reason I'm here, I want to promote that fundraising and awareness, as much as we can so that hopefully down the road, these kind of diseases will be preventable.
But you actually saved her life.
We saved each other's, I think, because during the workup process, Toronto General Hospital did find nodules on my liver that they told me could become cancerous down the road. So had it not been for that workup, I would never have known. Who knows what could have happened. Luckily enough, they were able to remove the nodules, make my liver viable for transplant. And when she was 9 months of age, I was able to provide a liver transplant. So they took a portion of my liver, donated it to her. And luckily for all of us today, she's, the epitome of a 2-year-old bouncing baby girl.
So you say you saved each other. Explain that.
Well, basically with biliary atresia, as recently as the 1980s, babies born with disease would not make it past the age of 2. Fortunately, in Ontario, they do accept the living donor program. And because of that, obviously, she was able to make it past 2. So that's why people really give me the credit of saving her life, because who knows, there have been patients and, it pains me to say that die waiting for a liver transplant that never comes.
I understand that. I understand that part. I meant, why do you think she saved yours?
Because, for one, I was in a very dark place seeing my daughter go through so many things. And then obviously, mental images in your mind where, mentally I wasn't there. And also just because if those nodules had become cancerous down the road and undiagnosed and unseen, who knows what that could have come.
June, as the VP for fundraising for the Liver Foundation, you are keenly aware of the needs and the stats. Can you share this with our listeners? I don't think people know how alarming the situation is.
Well, Christine, the interesting thing about the liver is that it is such an misunderstood organ on so many levels. The stats are this. Earlier this year, we released information that has taken the incidence and prevalence of liver disease from 1 in 10 to 1 in 4. So consider that for a moment. That means that in a room of this size, we could have up to 2 people who are affected. Obviously, we have one right beside us. But obviously, the opportunity exists for many people to have it, then they don't even know it. The problem is that it remains undiagnosed. So late diagnoses, as well as prevalence of fatty liver disease, that's what drives that 1 in 4 number.
So you're talking about non-alcoholic.
Absolutely.
Fatty liver disease. This is obviously linked to obesity and things like that?
It is. It's linked to unhealthy diet. It's linked to sedentary lifestyle. And it's linked to just a whole sort of series of events that coincide together, obesity being the largest cause of that. So, and the late diagnosis. It's the late diagnosis of viral hepatitis as well that can cause that.
So how would somebody know?
Yeah, no symptoms.
Yeah, I'm living my life, doing my thing. Should I go in and have a liver workup just because?
You know what, that's a great question. And the reason that's a great question is because there's not enough knowledge out there. And unfortunately, GPs don't usually put this as part of their routine screening. So we should always ask for a liver function test as part of your annual exam, just because the liver has no pain sensor, so you're not going to know until it's too late.
But if you don't have that, is there something that we at home, if we notice some kind of symptom that if we notice we should call the doctor immediately and ask for a workup?
It's really interesting because the symptoms can be widespread. For example, one gentleman didn't know he had hepatitis C until he he was experiencing flu-like symptoms for a prolonged period of time. And so when he actually went to the doctor, they finally did the diagnosis, and he was in late stage. So it became critical for him, and it was something as simple as a flu-like symptom. So you're not going to know. So the real thing to do is to be, I guess, more preventative and to ask for it each time that you do your routine checkups and things like that, and ask your GP to do that liver function test for you.
What are the foods that people should really watch in terms of affecting your liver?
You know, it's interesting because we have a clinical dietitian who sits on our board and who has lots of information that we could share with that. And our website has buckets of information around fatty liver as well as, healthy foods. We actually have a healthy food event coming up with the United States White House chefs that talk about liver healthy food. But the foods that you need to avoid are the obvious ones, the things that are heavy in fat, heavy in salt, heavy in sugar. Those are the things that, they're the root of all evil for many things, but certainly for your liver. Your liver is your goal. It's your last line of defense, so you need to kind of protect it.
And smoking as well.
Oh, anything you put on your body, anything you put in your body, or anything atmospheric, all goes through your liver. So if you smoke, if you have any of those lifestyle choices that can affect your liver, that can cause damage.
Now, I know, having lost a third of liver through a stabbing attack, that it does regenerate. It is the only organ that does regenerate. But what was the process like for you as a donor?
Before surgery, the Toronto General gave me floods of information in terms of what I could expect, and they told me that within 6 weeks post-transplant, my liver would have regenerated to 90% capacity.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is insanely fast, and going back to what June said is the lack of awareness. I had no idea that the liver is the only organ that can regenerate.
But liver transplants, they're a life-saving intervention, but they're not actually a cure for liver disease, right?
That's absolutely true. Yes, so liver disease, the way that we can look at liver disease is we need to work more on diagnosis, prevention, and cure. And that's what liver research does. And that's what the Canadian Liver Foundation does, is to see if we can prevent that need for transplant. Our goal is to eventually eliminate the need for transplant, because transplant means that that's sort of the last opportunity. So, yeah.
Can anyone be a donor?
There's a screening process, and Betsy could probably speak more to that than I would be able to. But the liver, just an interesting fact, the liver is the only organ that you can give twice.
Twice?
You can give it twice. Yeah, you can do it as a living donor, and you can do it as a deceased donor. Yes. So because the liver will regenerate, so you can actually save 2 lives with one single liver.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Now, as of the middle of November, there are 221 people on the waiting list for liver transplants in Ontario. Why that many if you can be a living donor?
Well, that is, I guess, the larger question. So few people actually do sign those donor cards, do fulfill that life-saving gift that you can do. It's something that I guess Betsy and her husband Peter are on a mission to raise awareness around, and we actually work with the Canadian. We call it CanTrap. It's the transplant group to encourage people to sign those donor cards and to provide their livers and other organs.
So you have to then be determined to be a match.
Absolutely.
And that's the issue. So you need a lot of people on there.
Exactly. So in Betsy's journey, obviously there was a huge social media outreach, and many people came forward to volunteer to be tested. But, obviously the match is the critical part, and so few people can be matched together.
So what would be the key thing you want people to know, Betsy?
Basically that there is a living donor program in Ontario, and that you don't have to wait until you're deceased to be part of that donor. And if you are willing, that you can sign up through the Toronto General website, and you can find all the protocols that are in there. To answer your earlier question, the general rule of thumb is basically between 18 and 55 years of age, and very healthy lifestyle. From there, they take it and do it blood work, CT scans, ultrasounds, ECGs, and all of that to make sure that you are a capable, viable donor.
So tell us what the website is where people can get more information, June.
www.liver.ca will give you all kinds of stats, figures, and educational information around liver research.
Betsy and June, thank you so much for joining us this evening and helping us help one another to prevent this, and possibly help by donating or offering to be a transplant donor or to donate funds. This is what she said on The Jewel. Stay with us.
She might just change.